this is Sherman Tank coming back at you again. We had a little technical difficulty, so instead of having video and stuff up here with David, we're actually going to act like he's on a phone call. So I think we got some internet issues going around the country right now, so we're going to do what we can with what we got. So David is here. He's just going to be audio today. Hopefully that ends up working out okay. David, can you hear me?
I can.
I
Can you hear me
can. Can
now?
you hear me
I
now?
can hear you.
Good.
Good. Hopefully we'll be able to get through this.
Yeah,
One of the big things, that was one of the things I wanted to talk about, is people have begun experiencing a lot of internet problems and issues online and otherwise. Netflix has actually cut back on their allotment of user allowance for videos and things like that because the internet is being pushed so hard right now.
Mm-hmm.
And where I'm at, I'm pretty remote, so we're on MiFi's, which is probably why it's so bad right now, is everybody and their brothers on their phones currently. But what I wanted to bring up today is there's a couple new things that ended up happening with the COVID-19 coronavirus. The first one is there's a petition right now that a lot of people are getting behind for renaming it the CCP virus. And that has to do with the world being very disappointed with the Communist China Party and with their actions in lying to the entire world about this whole virus, and then also their continuance of doing bad things along the way. We've had test strips and test kits from China that recently got sent out that were infected with COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And we also had just mass amounts of lies and disinformation. Right now, they're saying that the death toll in Wuhan, China, I believe it's saying right here, yeah, they're saying 3,400 deaths is what they're saying in China. Now, here's the interesting thing. We have pictures that have come out here in these last few days of urns that are being sent to the 8 facilities that are in China right now that do cremation on bodies. There are lines in 6 hours a day to where family members can go and pick up the bodies of their family members once they've been cremated. And these urns, they're receiving shipments just at one location of 2,500 a day. So we got to know that their death toll is probably close to around, I would say, 60 to 80,000 based upon what their actual numbers of just that showing just in the city of Wuhan alone. And that's based upon the fact they keep receiving these shipments of urns every single day. And you can look that up. There's a lot of photos on it. And it's pretty disturbing stuff when you start looking at it. But one of the main reasons why I wanted to come on here today and get out there with you is there is an article on mirror.co.uk, and it says China finds new coronavirus strain that lasts for 49 days in infected patient. And what they're saying in this article is that they're warning of a new mutated version of the coronavirus that could infect people for nearly 2 months. The scariest thing, and Tank and I were talking about this here a little bit ago, is this has all of the markings of being a genetically engineered, genetically modified bioweapon.
Yep.
And we're seeing that now as this thing is mutating, and we don't even have the very first vaccination for the thing, let alone a vaccination for the mutated strain. And who's to say it's not going to mutate into something more deadly?
Right.
And go on.
Well, I was just gonna, add that if you look at all the circumstances that we've had across this country in the last 3 years, and you've seen everything that's going on. Trump has been hammering China with all the trade restrictions and tariffs and everything else, and it doesn't. It's one of those things where I don't think that this couldn't have been created in a lab. I mean, if you look at the coronavirus, we've had it since 2006. 2006 is a long time to have a chance to tinker with this thing, and we have it. We've actually got it in different chemicals. I mean, if you look at some of the stuff that
Like
we
Lysol.
yeah that we clean with every day. I mean, it's in there. And the fact that in 4 months or 5 months that this thing has gone from something that is a daily, um, we use it daily, to something that can kill you, it's kind of unfathomable to me. I mean, you can't at least explore the idea that this wasn't made in a lab. If you do, then you need to wake up, because we can do a whole lot of different things with it. And the fact that it took China, what, 3 months, or no, a month and a half, to even inform the rest of the world that this was going on, to me that sounds like it might have been a test. And guess where it got tested? I mean, they used it on the Hong Kong protesters. There's people that were dying. They were welding people in their homes. um, that right there should have been enough to tell us what was going on and what to expect.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, in fact, based upon what you're saying there and what we have as a history on this, and also we have breadcrumbs that I think are being left right now. This is as defensenews.com, and it's an article on there dated on March 19th, and it talks about Esper's dark vision for the US-China conflict makes war more likely. But in the article, it basically goes through Esper, and he is the defense secretary. He is saying that he wants to start pulling troops from places like Iraq, Afghanistan, all of the different troops that are considered non-essential, that are not doing special operations missions there. He's looking to pull all of them out, and then also pull out our forces from Africa and send them over to the regions in China.
Right.
And we're seeing, just in the past few days, we had in fact, right here, Pentagon can train sights on China, and the Air Force described a flight by a nuclear-capable B-52 bomber over Somalia in February as part in warning in China of the engagement to come. And we're looking at this, and we're seeing our players that are starting to move. There was just an article, I think, a day or two ago that came out that said China is actually working on putting some EMPs into place to attack our ships that are off their coast right now. And they're looking to turn around and do it that way. Another big thing that's going on for our Navy right now and our sailors is there's actually a Navy personnel ship that is off the coast, I think outside of China regions, that has 200 infected on board. And they're only 1,000 in the crew, but he's actually pleading to have somebody come and help him out and basically get them out of that area and out of that situation, because now it's a political nightmare for at least that particular ship, because you can't let them go on land, because what if they start infecting all the people over there? Then America's to blame.
Well, and here's something too, and this is something that one of the people on our feed here, and this is 100% the truth. Jeff Furman just wrote, they use their citizens as human cruise missiles to spread it. And here's the evidence behind that. Okay, so our first case in Alaska wasn't a resident. It wasn't a person who lived here and went to another country for a while. It was a cargo pilot. The cargo pilot flew in. I'm not sure exactly what country it was, because they wouldn't tell us. But a cargo pilot flew in here, had seen the health mandates and everything before getting here, started feeling sick, called the hospital, and next thing you know, they test him, and 3 days later comes back that he's got coronavirus. I'm not sure.
Lost the call on that side for a minute.
Yeah, I heard it beep at us. But yeah, I can't think of any other way. I mean, I don't think that. I mean, I get that viruses and stuff mutate on their own and everything else like this, but literally, it's like they put everything in there, or the way that it's working is it was a targeted attack on our respiratory system. And I know that things mutate and things change and all that kind of stuff all the time, but this was literally a perfect weapon. They went after how we breathe. And I watched a video yesterday of a guy that was in the hospital that had this. And this is for those out there that who may end up having it or may get it or whatever. But what he said was when he was up walking around, this guy was still laying in a hospital bed, by the way. As a black guy, he looked in pretty rough shape over the deal, and he was, I'd say, 40s, 50s. He wasn't super old, but what he was saying was that when he's up walking around, he has trouble getting air, but when he lays down, it feels a lot better. So what ends up happening is you lay down, the stuff fills your lungs up. When you get back up, you can't breathe, and so you're wanting to basically lay down. And in the process of laying down, it's filling your lungs up. So it kind of tricks you into giving up. And as bad as that sounds, I mean, I wouldn't want to go that way. That's for damn sure. But it sounded like the nurses and everything really had to push this guy to get him up, moving around, and keep him going. It sounds like he might be recovering, but it looks like it was a long, hard process for him.
Well, and one of the things too that disturbs me greatly about this is the article I read a minute ago about the 49-day mutation. That seems like it's getting out to us super late, because there were already people who were saying this a while ago, that it was much, much longer periods than this. And there was a video that I was watching yesterday from a guy in China who was wearing one of his masks, and he was having to use a VPN to connect to the internet. And when I see a video from somebody inside of China that is putting themselves at risk, it's none of these people are looking to make money on this. It's not like they can go on and post on YouTube and have money transferred to their bank account in China. These people, when they do these videos, they're literally risking their lives, because the communist China regime and the party that's over there, they will literally grab these people from their homes, drag them off into wherever, and then all of a sudden they caught corona and they were a statistic. And that's the reality that they're facing. But what this guy is saying is, he's saying that they're saying that there's no new cases in China. He said they're lying. He said that their transportation system is shut down. They can't call 210, which is their version of the police number over there. There's no police that will respond. There's nowhere that they can even get testing. He said there's still people dying left and right. He said that the symptoms that they're having are not the symptoms that they're actually saying is what's from this virus. So,
well, that's the one thing that I find interesting is if you watch the videos and stuff over there. I think we lost David there for a second.
He's okay.
I got you back. One thing I find interesting about the symptoms and everything that they're talking about. If you watch the videos and stuff from 3-4 months ago, people were passing out on the streets. I mean, they were dropping like flies, and you're not hearing any of that kind of stuff. So
not yet. But then again, we're in our first 2 weeks of this, and according to a lot of the Chinese people that are over there, this has been going on for a month and a half, 2 months.
Yeah. It sucks that we're having to go through it. I know right now there's an aircraft carrier or some of the military out in the ocean right now that are in dire straits with the stuff. I think it was an aircraft carrier, and
it is an aircraft carrier, and that was the one that I was talking about. They're in the ocean, but they're off a coast, and it's becoming a political nightmare because 200 of the 1,000 passengers are infected, confirmed.
Right.
And out of the 1,000 passengers, probably all of them are at least gonna get it or have it, but they've got to basically get them away from that area, because on that border with that country, if our guys basically have it on the ship and then go in and start infecting everybody there, then America looks like they're responsible for it.
Right. And what's the other stuff that is going on? China's been sending over tests that actually have COVID-19 in the tests. I see.
Or they're fake tests. Because here's the other thing that's really scary too. The tests themselves, or the ones that actually work, they only have an 80% actual true test rate on them.
Right.
So you're literally talking pretty much 1 in 5 is infected, but it doesn't come back as the correct result.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have, I think it was in Maine, I was just seeing a report that showed that Maine officials are actually sharing the locations of infected persons with coronavirus with police. And so that concerns me from a standpoint of if they're going to be going around rounding people up and putting them in self-isolating pods and stuff like that. We don't know.
Right.
And at this point, we really don't know. I mean, there's times where California, I think it was just today, said that there's going to be no more school for the rest of the year. It's done. It's over. That's done. So that right there takes a step back from.
Well, here's the thing that I don't know if we just lost David again or not. It sounded like it might have cut him off. But yeah, it did. One of the things that I find extremely disturbing is the fact that we don't know how long this is going to last. You there?
I am. Looks like I lost you again.
Yeah.
Where did I cut out at?
To be honest with you, it was like in the middle of a word, and I couldn't make out what the word was.
I was just saying that
you're right at the end of school.
California.
Yep.
Yeah, the schools in California have officially shut down until the end of the year. And so that already takes it to where there's going to be no normalcy for at least the rest of the year because most people work 2 jobs. I personally think it's good. I think parents should be more involved and they'll probably end up raising better kids, but I don't want to use that to make that point of opinion right now, considering everything that the country's going through. But we're in this time right now to where the world's economy is quite frankly fucked.
Yeah.
There's no coming back from this in any way, shape, or form for years to come. And
not recognizable anyway.
Yeah, and I can easily see us going to war over this. Because by the time we're all said and done with this, the nation's debt is going to be a third higher. And who owns the most of America's debt?
China does.
Exactly. So when you go through and you look at this right now, once it comes through to where we say, sorry, we're not doing anything, we don't have any way to pay this, what's it going to come to? What are they going to do? Say, hey, give us Texas and we'll call it good. No, that ain't going to happen.
Right.
Basically, once we end up coming through in this type of situation, the only step forward is war. So it's scary from that standpoint.
They can have Canada. How about that? That way they don't have to ship their crap that they make for us over here. Sorry.
You killed me on stream. I was taking a drink of coffee at the time.
They can get rid of Trudeau. I think we can,
Oh, man.
No, it's I don't know. We're in such a weird time, and with the country and actually the world so divided on the political views that anything's possible right now. I mean, we're Trump did a press conference this morning and was talking about Iran wanting to hit the troops and stuff overseas again, and everything that's happening is giving us a giant excuse for war. And the warmongers that we have out there, the the people that were in when Bush was in, and that kind of stuff. They're right now they're licking their chops because they know that if you look at what happened back in the Great Depression, right? So we went to war. That's how we got out of the Great Depression. We went to war with another country, and that our factories and everything else kicked into high gear, started making stuff for the military, and that's how we came out of the Great Depression. It's one of the big reasons we survived that. But I kind of see a lot of similarities between then and now, and it's not like we don't have a lot of enemies out there that we could go after. The problem is we have enemies here abroad too, or here on the homeland too. Look at, I mean, and some of these enemies that we have here on the homeland, they are residents of the country. It's like the lady that was going out and trying to spread the coronavirus by spitting on the stuff in the produce in the grocery store this last week. She ruined $35,000 worth of food, and they had to throw out. I mean, I think she's getting terrorism charges pressed against her, but I mean, that's insane. That's how bad and how political things have gotten. That you take a normal citizen here and you try and go out and you try and infect other people. I mean, that's insane.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And what we're seeing here too is that there's a lot of people within this country that are still trying to cut our military forces, and they're trying to make it to where we don't have a strong military. And what we're seeing right now is China has been growing not only their economy, but their military power.
Oh yeah.
And they've been really close allies with Russia, and they've been going through and building up a lot of their defenses and their resources from Russia. So we've got two superpowers that both don't really like us very much right now. I think Putin was hoping that he'd have a better relationship with Trump, and so far from what I've seen, Trump and Russia and America and Russia for a while now have not had a good relationship. And I don't see that changing anytime soon because our values as a country differ so much from Russia. You can't really have a good relationship with somebody like that. It's like the whole Communist Party thing right now. You're absolutely correct. They're using their own citizens, but in many ways, their own citizens are hostages to this.
Yep.
Like one of the things that the video, and I think I shared it on my Facebook. If not, I'll go through and share it again. But it was this guy who is from China, and he was going through and he was discussing all of this. But he was saying how they want to be free and they want to have rights and they want to have the ability to surf the internet without it being specific pages that they can go to. They want to have the ability to see differing opinions. And people don't have an understanding that America is the only place in the entire world right now where you don't risk losing your life and losing everything for free speech and for having different opinions. Anymore, it's changing to where now there's social pressure if you say something wrong, but the fact of the matter is the more we move down that road of social pressure, it turns into government pressure. And then all of a sudden, the next thing you know, you only have certain points of view that you can take. We all know, left and right knows that our media can't be trusted.
Oh no, that's
right or left side. It's all the same people controlling the narrative.
Well, you know, there's a thing that I seen. There's a meme. And it showed a horse trying to get ready to go in a set of gates, essentially. And both of the gates led to the same place. And that's exactly what our government is right now. With the bill that they passed, you know, I know that there was, one Republican, actually he was an independent, or he was, wasn't independent, he's more in the middle than most of the other congressmen. But Thomas Massey, he wanted to uphold everything, he wanted to get everything on the record. And they basically lambasted the guy for holding up the vote for like 30 minutes. I mean, it's gotten so political. And the thing is these people know that are in Congress, they know that their wallet's going to be full. And they don't give us, you know, two shits about anybody that's in the country. They don't live they don't live on the same planet that we do mentally.
Well, they don't because the other thing about it is the dirty, wicked little secret that Congress has and the House has, and basically all these corrupt politicians have, is nobody is investigating them for insider trading.
Nope.
In fact, there was a thing a couple years ago to where it said that they were looking to investigate them. They said, no, it's the separation of the different branches of government. You guys can't do an investigation on us because of that. And I don't interpret the Constitution to read that way, but they apparently do, and they've been getting by with it. But you have all these people that are making these backdoor dirty deals with lobbyists in exchange for stock being donated to their nonprofits or their 501(c)(a)s. That's another thing. 501(c)(a)s is a method by which you have a nonprofit which you designate to give to any type of thing that you want to, but it's permanently tax deferred without actually sending the money to those people, so you can just keep it there in those places. And it's also anonymous. You can't tell who the money is actually coming from, And most of these big corporations and most of these people, they all have their own 501(c)(a)s set up,
Mm-hmm.
and they're able to go through and send out this money to circumvent the law of being able to say, okay, you can only give this much to this candidate. No, with the 501(c)(a), it's anonymous. There's no way to actually tell who's actually given the money.
Well, here's something that I it's a question that I have, and I've seen people post about this, and I don't know enough about it to really elaborate on it. But I've been seeing that since this bill was put in there, that when the bill was written and everything, it basically gave the Federal Reserve to the Treasury Department. It basically, they become kind of a de facto takeover. I don't know how much of that's the truth or not. But if that is true, it would be nice to end the Fed. The Fed is one of the reasons that we have to, pay the taxes and all this other crap that we got going on. Maybe that's part of the plan, was to take down the Fed. I know that Trump doesn't like the Fed because they mess with the interest rates and everything else all the time. But, I don't know how much of that's true. I'll have to do a little bit more research on it. But, Steve Mnuchin is the head of the Treasury Department, so I don't know enough about him to say whether or not any of it's good or bad. So, you want to elaborate on that at all, David?
So I ended up actually cutting out there for a portion of it, but from what I was understanding is you were saying that there's a lot of talk about Trump eliminating the Federal Reserve and going and eliminating probably the IRS as well. Is that what I'm understanding?
Okay, so whenever they wrote this bill, it effectively gave the Fed, or the Federal Reserve, to the Treasury Department. And at least that's what I've been getting from people and sending me stuff. So essentially, the Fed is no longer. Did you catch?
Interesting.
Yeah, that's it basically, it gave the Treasury Department. Now, like I said, I'm not sure if this is true. I mean, I've heard it now from 3 or 4 people. I've seen different articles written about it. But essentially, it's made the Treasury Department the de facto leaders of the Fed, or it's basically going to be ending the Fed. And we know that Trump doesn't like the Fed because they manipulate the interest rates.
Yeah, I would have to do some more research on that to be able to actually pull it up, and see if I can read the actual bill itself and go through and have a look at the legalese that's in it to be able to give a definitive, this is at least my opinion on it.
Right.
But actually I could do that right now. Pick a topic I gotta know something about while I research this.
Well, we'll talk a little bit about the schools and stuff. So, my wife is actually doing IEDs today, or IEDs. I can't remember what the hell they're called. She's talking with parents about their kids and making sure that their kids are learning stuff at home, and all that kind of stuff. So, the learning is still going on, but here is your opportunity, parents, to make sure that you're actually having the best opportunity on the planet to find out what your kids are learning. So take advantage of it while you have it. So if you're at home and your kids are at home and your kids are having IEPs, pay attention to everything that's going on, because now is your chance to see how indoctrinated your kids are.
Yeah.
Right now is a chance to, thank you, Scott, IEP. I almost want to say IED, because in some ways, some of these are IEDs. But it's amazing, the school that she teaches in, and she loves the school, by the way. She loves the people that she works with and the kids. But it's amazing to find out how many people don't actually pay attention to their kids. They treat school like it's a babysitter. And now with this Corona stuff going on and all the schools shut down, it's amazing to see just how different parents are looking at their kids, because now they're realizing that their kids may not be, that special student in their life, I guess. And
you wanted to say snowflake.
Yeah, well, in some cases, yes. But right now it's a really good time to teach your kids that socialism communism, things like that, are exactly what we're living, and exactly what those kids are gonna. This is, David, to be honest with you, this is a perfect time to turn a kid from being a liberal to being a conservative, because they're seeing firsthand that they can't leave their house, that they can't just simply go down the street and hang out with their friends. And I lost him.
You
again.
back?
There we go.
Yeah, I waited there for a second. Yeah, we're still having some problems, so maybe after this topic we'll end it here.
Yep.
And hope the video showed through pretty good. But no, what I was saying is that the big media corporations are talking about how the schools holding back the children from this, or the schools having so many people homeschool at this time, is really going to mess up these kids' education, and they're not going to be able to get the education that they need, and it's going to cause a whole generation of people to be raised stupid. It's literally what some of these big institutions are saying. In fact, Donald Trump Jr. over there, he ended up replying to him and said, I think you'd be hard-pressed to find a homeschooled student that isn't at least keeping up or doing better than most of the kids in these public schools, and I 100% agree with that.
I agree too.
Oh yeah, when I was a kid, I was homeschooled. When I graduated, it was at 16. I didn't end up going to college because my tuition was going to be way too expensive, and I'd never pay it back. And so I started doing trades, and I make more now than most people do with a degree. So,
well,
I don't.
If you put yourself in the kid's position, and we've all gone through high school and we've gone through middle school, and where do you learn the most? You're going to learn in a place that you're most comfortable with, and that's usually the house.
Yeah.
I mean, go ahead.
The school environment, in my opinion, it's set up as a industrial age work environment. We have not progressed from that at all. In fact, we've regressed, because we have an institution that wants to tell you, do this, only this, these are the equations that you can accept, think this way, do this, which is great for an industrial age. It's great to tell a guy, here's a wrench, I want you to turn this 100 times. That's what you needed back then.
Mm-hmm.
But we haven't progressed from that. Now we're living in an age to where I can learn damn near anything I want to just by going to YouTube. And there's still people that say, oh, well, you can't do this and you can't do that. Yes, there's 3 or 4 different sections. If you're going to be a lawyer, if you're going to be a doctor, if you're going to do anything that requires an advanced medical degree, yeah, you need to go and get some schooling for that.
Right.
But otherwise, for somebody who wants to, there's so many opportunities out there to just go and figure stuff out. When I lost my job a long time ago, and dude was a dirtbag and ended up firing me because I wouldn't sign a contract. But I started my own company that did e-commerce web development, made videos, stuff like that. And I didn't know any of it at all when I got laid off, unemployed. And when I went through that process, it was something to where within 6 months, I knew as much as most people who had gone to college for 4 or 5 years doing it. And then I had 3 guys working for me, and there was one moment where a guy from college came out of college, and he was like, hey, I'm looking for a job. Will you hire me? And I was like, well, what languages do you know for coding and doing these websites? He gave me off the list, but he knew CSS and he didn't know SAS. But the problem is if you don't know SAS and you're not willing to learn SAS, then you're going to be doing 4 or 5 hours more work per page than a guy who knows SAS. And so I asked him, like, you don't know this language, we use this language a lot because it saves time. What can you do about that? He says, well, I can't do anything about it because I only know SAS. And this is the environment that these kids are growing up in, is sit down, shut up, do this work. And then now even worse is our school system now, they're not kicking out the problem children. They're not able to discipline the problem children. They're not able to turn around and do anything to these kids at all, who are basically ruining the entire schooling experience to the kids that do want to learn.
Right.
A kid can sit there in the middle of the classroom, scream at the top of his lungs, toss his desk around, and nothing can happen to him. They can't be expelled anymore, at least in California.
Well, and you know, if you go into some of these schools like in California, New York, and places like that, if the kid's wanting to be smart, and is doing really well in school, guess what? The other kids give them crap for it because they're lagging behind. It ends
Yeah.
up becoming a big bully situation. But that doesn't happen at home.
No.
Well,
there's the elements of peer pressure too. There's
Mhm.
the elements to look cool and be cool, or ooh, that's a cute girl or cute boy, whichever you're into. And at the end of the day, you focus so much on that stuff that in 2 hours, when I was homeschooled, I'd have my work done in 2 hours, and the
Right.
rest of the day I'd spend doing what I want to do. And at the end of it, I mean, when I was 16, when I went to go to college, I classed out all the math classes in college. They said I wouldn't even have to take math, college level math. And they said, no, you wouldn't have to take it. And that was at 16. And most of these other kids, they don't know algebra by the time they get out of high school. They don't have an understanding of what it's even for.
Right.
And instead, our schooling system right now is focusing more on liberal politics and policies and socializing these kids and indoctrinating them. I mean, now we're turning around and seeing some stuff to where they're trying to change it to where they're going to be teaching in schools that capitalism is an unfair and biased thing that's racist. I mean, dude, you live in a capitalist country. How can you teach that in school?
Right. Yeah. Well, unfortunately, that's what we're dealing with in today's day and age.
Mm-hmm.
Well, David, I think we've covered plenty with our connection issue. I think we probably go ahead and call it quits for this one, and
I think so for this one.
We'll just keep working on trying to get some of our streaming and everything a little bit better. With I did want to mention that there may be, with all the crap that's going on and everything else with people being laid off and all that kind of stuff. Don't be surprised if you start losing your cell phones, you start losing your internet. You could start losing power and water. So be prepared for all that kind of stuff.
Well, and one last thing on that note, the reports that I'm seeing right now are showing that as many as 30% are going to be unemployed from this. And I personally think it's worse than that, especially speaking to a lot of the individuals I've talked to.
I'm guessing it's probably closer to 50.
Yeah, I think it might even be as high as 60.
Could be.
But that also gets into how much that's going to end up affecting our nation's debt from that too, because unemployment insurance only covers so much. And when everybody uses the insurance at once, the other thing I would say is have some cash on hand.
Oh, yeah.
Because if shit starts hitting the fan and things start going down and going sideways, the banking systems are probably going to be one of the first things to be affected really bad. And we're on a teeter-totter right now and have been for a long time.
Well,
This fractional reserve banking, you've only got 1/10 of the money that is of the account holders within that bank. So there's only 1 out of 10 people that's going to get their money. And if that comes crashing down, it's over. It's done.
Well, here's something I want people to consider on that the banking part of it. If the banks are closed down, which up here they are, you can only go in by appointment only. You can't just walk into a bank right now because of this crap. But you can still get to an ATM. You can still draw out money. So if you can, do it while you can. Because if our internet goes down, that means that their networks go down. And then you're basically SOL. So make sure that you both have money out and that you have stuff that you can barter with or trade with. I think that we're kind of, they're saying it's a month out before we can start going back to work and all this other kind of stuff. I wouldn't be surprised if this lasts all summer, and then I would not be surprised if this stuff craps out and does this again next winter. So be prepared for that.
Yeah, there's that, and then also bullets and ammunition, they're gone, man. They're 100% gone.
We still have them up here. We're still getting shipments and stuff up here. Our gun stores are still good.
Over here, even in the rural areas, man, it's nutty. I'm talking to guys over here, and we have one guy who's in our group right now, and he's a firearms dealer, and he was telling me that he got one gun in today, and he had it sold before he even signed for it.
I don't doubt that at all. I mean,
And
in California,
ammunition supply gone.
in California, you've already got the problems with having a background check and all that crap for ammo. Here we don't. So we got a place I know in Wasilla that just got a shipment of stuff in, and they've got like 3 shipments in the last week. And as soon as it comes in, it's gone, but it sells out pretty fast. But they're still getting stuff. So
Yeah.
let's see. They seem to be limiting how much you can buy. Well, in a couple stores they are. Sportsman's Warehouse here, we're limiting how much 223 stuff that you could get at a time. I think they were limiting it to 150 rounds a person, which is kind of a joke. But
Yeah.
I mean, I can load that much stuff in 30 minutes. So actually faster than that, probably 15 minutes. But it's people have to really start looking at the stuff that's going on and the stuff that's going to happen, and you're going to have to find a way to predict that, because you may not be right in your prediction, but you know what? It's better to be safe than sorry.
Yeah, well, I mean that's the thing. Plan for the worst, hope for the best, and play it out that way. But I think this has been a huge wake-up calls for Democrats, Republicans, and even preppers alike. I know that my family and myself, we were very well prepared going into this. I'd say we were probably 99% better off than most of the people who are going through this. We had money saved up. We had everything else that was taken care of. So when I lost my job, I mean, I'm still not sweating it. And actually, I'm going to become essential personnel here pretty soon and going to be back to work. So that's good news. But, or bad news, depending on how you look at it, because I've got mixed feelings. I like the idea of being able to go back to work and get back at it. But by the same token, with everything that's going on out there, it scares the crap out of me. And one thing also, there's a MIT report that came out from a guy that was saying that their recommendations on social distancing and all that is flawed. It's from the 1930s, and that the virus itself can stay in the air for several hours, and it can transfer up to 23 to 27 feet is what he said, which that's extremely scary crap. There's nowhere you can go.
And that's without air conditioning. That's without, any kind of air movement. That's just, you know, if you got wind blowing or you got air moving around, you got fans around you, that, that's going to expand. So,
well, in fact, what they were showing too is they had actually turned around and done some tests, and they found the coronavirus at some of these hospitals in their ventilation system.
Oh, yeah.
And so the virus is actually being spread throughout the hospital, throughout the ventilation system. So just going into a hospital just to get tested can result in danger for you. And I think we just had another 2 cases up in Reading as well from some guys over there. So we're up to 8 confirmed cases now. But another thing to remember is if you're seeing 8 confirmed cases, this person has probably already been viral for the last, I'd say, 10 to 13 days.
Mm-hmm.
And so how many people did they come in contact with that are then going to start showing symptoms 10 to 13 days later? And what we're seeing right now is the rate of escalation just on a weekly basis is about 10 times what that number is. So if they're saying we've got 8 cases right now, we really have 80 infected people out there that don't know it. And by 2 weeks from then, we're going to end up being in the 800 range.
Yeah, and I don't want to come on here and be, the person that's going to be scaring people and stuff like that. But, you're just going to have to watch yourself. Wear a mask or whatever whenever you go in somewhere. Eyewear is good. Sunglasses, anything that'll keep, stuff out of your tear ducts and things like that. And wash your hands. I usually, lately, I've been wearing gloves everywhere I go. And then whenever I come home, the gloves stay in the garage. That's one of the best things you can do. The thing is, it can be on your feet. It can be on your clothes. It can be on just about everything. So, not to be the fear monger or anything like that, but the one thing that I'm curious about, and this has been going around a lot, I know this video has gone on a little longer than what we thought, but the big cities where they're saying that the hospitals are like war zones and stuff. I just lost David again for a second. You back?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm back.
So the big cities that have all the hospitals and everything, what I'm curious about is a lot of these hospitals that they're claiming are war zones are basically empty. There's nothing going on. There's been videos going on all over Facebook and everything else about it. So, if you're out and about and you're going to the store or something, you might swing by a hospital and take a video and see what it looks like.
Well, and some of that too, I think that our hospitals have been so overburdened with people who didn't need to be going to them. There's a lot of people that are welfare people, welfare recipients constantly, and they use the ER as their walk-in clinic.
Yep.
Because a lot of the walk-in clinics won't actually accept them as patients because of the medical that they have. So I think what we're seeing right now with the emptiness of the hospitals is people are scared of this thing bad enough that they're not going for their common cold. They're not going just to be able to go and try and get their drugs, because we also, I would say probably 30 to 40% of the ER visits are to try to get opioids and claim all kinds of weird, wicked pain so that they can try to do that. It's been an epidemic in our country for a long time. And I think right now people are scared enough that they're not trying to manipulate the system to be able to do that. And it's emptying those out a little bit. And we're not at a place that this is catastrophic yet. But from the research and the information, I definitely think it's a real thing that is going on, and I think that this is every bit as bad as what they're talking about. And the thing that scares me on it is, if this is biological, which I personally think it is, and if it is a weapon of some type, it could mutate into a more deadly, dangerous version at any time.
Oh yeah.
And it may already have programming that's in it to do that, and
What?
that may be why we're setting up to go to war, but we don't know.
Yeah. Well, only time's gonna be able to tell on this one. So, buckle in, get ready, because I think we're in for a bumpy ride for the summertime. So,
Absolutely.
make sure that you, the one positive thing on this whole thing, me staying home, I've actually lost like 6 pounds. So I'm not eating as much and not eating the fast food that I used to eat. So I'm down to in the 240s for a change. So,
Nice.
hopefully that continues, and maybe if we go 3 months down the road, I might be back down to the 220s. We'll see.
The other silver lining on this too is that coronavirus is a winter virus, and
Yeah, it
it
can't
does
handle
not do
heat.
well in heat. Yeah. And so as things start heating up, we're going to start getting a much better handle on this. But
Nope, I think I lost David again. I think we're about to end it here in just a second. Give it a second here. David, you there? There he is. You back?
yeah, I lost it there for a minute.
All right, let's go ahead.
Yeah,
and-
I was just ending it and saying we'll do it another time when the internet's not so bad, and then
Right.
it cut out.
All right. Well, folks, we're going to go ahead and end it, so we will catch you another time. Just stay safe out there and use your brain. This is Sherman Tank and David Johnson, and we're out of here.